By 1939, Germany had assembled a military machine of staggering scale and discipline. This force projected an image of absolute, terrifying momentum. Emerging from economic collapse, the regime utilized blitzkrieg tactics to rapidly overwhelm its neighbors. In a few short years, Poland, Norway, Belgium, and France all fell under its control. These rapid, high-profile victories created a powerful psychological effect. Much of the world began to view the German army as an unstoppable juggernaut, directed by a leader who appeared utterly invincible. But the same momentum that built the empire was also masking its fragility. The path to collapse often begins not with the strength of an enemy, but with the internal decay of the strategy itself. To understand how this map was torn apart, we must look past the early victories and examine 4 specific self-inflicted errors that turned a dominant military power into a ruined state. The first major error came in June 1941 with Operation Barbarossa. Overconfident from his success in the West, Hitler launched a massive invasion of the Soviet Union, convinced that a total surrender was only months away. This assumption ignored a brutal physical reality, the Russian winter. As temperatures plummeted, German machinery seized up, weapons failed, and soldiers who lacked proper gear began dying from the extreme cold. In 1942, the focus shifted to Stalingrad. Despite other tactical options, the city became a symbolic obsession for Hitler, simply because it bore the name of his Soviet rival, Joseph Stalin. The battle devolved into a horrific, room-by-room struggle amidst the urban rebel. The fast-moving blitzkrieg tactics of the past were useless in the grinding urban warfare of the city center. Soviet commanders executed a massive pincer maneuver, sweeping around the flanks to completely surround nearly 300,000 German soldiers. Hitler refused a tactical retreat. Cut off, thousands froze to death as the pockets slowly vanished. The loss at Stalingrad proved that, by 1943, personal ego had officially overtaken sound military strategy as the primary driver of the war. The strategic situation grew even more dire following the Japanese attack on the United States fleet in December 1941. Days later, Hitler voluntarily declared war on the United States. He had now committed Germany to an unwinnable multi-front war against Britain, the Soviet Union, and America simultaneously. This decision pitted a strained military against America's massive, untouched industrial capacity. The sheer volume of U.S. manufacturing, producing tanks and aircraft on a scale Germany could not match, made the eventual outcome a mathematical certainty. As the war turned against him, Hitler reacted by retreating into an echo chamber, further detaching himself from the reality on the ground. He began actively ignoring his own military commanders. Experienced generals recommended strategic withdrawals to save their remaining divisions, but Hitler rejected their advice, believing his own intuition was superior to their data. This delusion carried a tragic human cost. Millions of soldiers were sent into hopeless battles because the leadership refused to acknowledge the logistical collapse of the empire. By dismantling the military intelligence network that could have corrected his errors, Hitler ensured there was no longer a system in place to prevent the final catastrophe. By 1945, the empire was in ruins. Surrounded on all sides, the capital city of Berlin was breached by Soviet forces. Facing the total destruction he had authored, Hitler committed suicide in his underground bunker on April 30, 1945. The collapse was immediate. Within a matter of days, the remnants of the military leadership issued a total, unconditional surrender. While the Allies delivered the physical blows that ended the war, the true architect of the Third Reich's destruction was its own commander. History shows that when arrogance replaces reality, even the most powerful empire becomes its own greatest enemy.